Hey, I'm Matt,
And I'm Dustin.
and we're local Historia.
We're here at Boalsburg to take a look at the Columbus Chapel and Boal Mansion. Let's check it out.
We're here with Bob at the Boal Mansion and Columbus Chapel. Bob, thanks for having us today.
Our pleasure. Great to have you here.
What are you going to show us today?
Oh, we have a great agenda for you. Again, we'll just be able to skim the surface, but we're going to go through the Columbus Chapel, which was moved from Historia, Spain, back at the turn of the 1900s. That was from Columbus's castle. And then we'll go to the Columbus Vault, which houses one of the largest collections of Christopher Columbus artifacts in the Western Hemisphere. And then we'll go behind us to the first floor of the Boal Mansion, see some of the things from King Tut's grandparents to Napoleon artifacts. And then from there upstairs for a very quick look at the extensive armory that the family has.
Well, thanks so much for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And again, we love showing off what we consider to be one of the most unique museums in the world. This is Columbus's chapel that was moved from the north of Spain. The castle was built in 1450. The only thing in the outside from the castle is that marble cross. This is a cross and a crown, but from centuries of worshipers touching it, they've worn it down. So come on in. So you're looking at Renaissance art, 500 years old, very historic. People will make a pilgrimage to come to here from other countries, especially South and Central America.
So the Boal's married into this inheritance, right?
Correct. So towards the end of Aunt Victoria's life, she bequeaths to her niece all the contents of the Columbus family chapel and many of the prime items from the castle. And when I say the contents, as you can see here, it's not just the furnishings, it's the balustrades, it's the windows, it's the altar, the doors. They literally gut the structure, leaving behind an empty stone shell. So our stone on the outside is good Pennsylvania limestone, but everything else, Colonel Boal being an architect, puts everything back the exact same way.
Yeah.
So it's truly amazing. So as I said, people will make a pilgrimage to come here, especially from all over South and Central America.
I can see why, for sure. Very special.
And beneath your feet are the generations of the Boals interred in a mausoleum.
Oh, really?
We're actually on the second floor.
Yeah, so it is a sacred space to begin with? So
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's so many other things. So our actual tour takes 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours. So again, I just gave you a few highlights in here.
So yeah, people really need to come here to get the full story.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. So should we go to the next place? This is the Columbus Vault.
Okay.
Come on in.
You guys are
People at the time of Columbus thought that if you sailed across the ocean, you would fall off the edge, right? That's what we were taught. It's completely bogus. It's a fairy tale when we were taught it. It was a fairy tale at the time of Columbus. Here is the reality. Over 2,000 years before Columbus, a Greek named Eratosthenes, living in Egypt, calculated the circumference of the Earth so precisely that not until we put a satellite in space did we have a more accurate measurement. They knew the world was round. Ptolemy, the father of modern map making, comes 300 years after Eratosthenes in 150 AD. Here's a copy of his map. Columbus, I'm reading his ship log right now, he has with him a copy of Ptolemy's map writing in the margins. Columbus knows the world is round in 1492, but they think it's 33% smaller.
wasn't sure how big it was.
Never in my life have I seen a museum comparable to this. And I've seen the world's finest museums. Why is this so incredible? It sounds like a lot of hyperbole, and I'll often say that to guests as they come. And I said, let me know as you leave what you think. And when they get done with their tour, they come and say, never in their life have they seen a museum like this. Here's the reason. 8 generations of the Boals lived here for over 200 years. How many houses do you know where more than 2 or 3 generations have lived? That's like the castles of Europe to have that many generations here. Secondly, the Boals were prominent on the local, state, federal, and international stages. They're connected to the who's who of world history. In addition, these people were pack rats. They literally kept everything. I can tell you what variety of apple trees they planted in 1896 that they purchased from Starks. It's incredible the level of detail. We have so many artifacts here that Penn State Pattee Library has on hold for us. We've loaned to them letters, postcards, pictures, etc. There's just so much. We're talking hundreds of thousands of original artifacts. So I love our nation's historic homes like Mount Vernon, Monticello, but the reality is you're not seeing a lot of Jefferson and Washington's actual artifacts. Most things are either reproduction or period pieces. But here, everything is original from the family. And each generation accumulates. We have the very first generation, David Boal, who comes from Ireland in 1790s. We have his Pennsylvania long rifle, signed from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's truly amazing.
Finally, we're going to check out the Boal Mansion.
We're gonna go through a few rooms and check out the new armory exhibit upstairs.
So we are methodically going through, emptying things out, etc. You're going to see right here, again, disheveled, but stacks of 120 plus year old clothing, Parisian fashions. This is the family that starts the French fashion industry. It is incredible. You've heard of Louis Vuitton?
Yeah.
Yeah, they give him his start. We have 6 Louis Vuitton trunks from the 1890s. It is incredible artifacts. Every room in this mansion, the original silk walls are still intact. Never in my life have I seen another mansion in the United States with the original silk walls still intact. This is what wealthy people would put on their walls to depict their wealth.
Great.
Now, Colonel Boal dies right here on this floor in 1938. And on his deathbed, he says, I had the pleasure of inheriting 3 fortunes and spending it all. He died broke. But what did he do with his money? Well, he built that military base across the way, funded the troops out of his own pocket for World War I, and then he built the Boalsburg Fire Company, the Boalsburg Bus Company, the Boalsburg Telephone Company. If it was Boalsburg, he did it. This came all from the Columbus Castle. So these are actual weapons that were used.
There's the Morning Star.
And so how this is set up, it goes from medieval times to now colonial Napoleonic, and they're in all the different wars.
Yeah.
And they would just accumulate all these things.
Compile it.
Yep, and then people would then give them other items because they knew they were accumulating.
Yeah.
And then Colonel Boal brings back those 2 shipping containers from World War I.
And that's how they got all of
And
it.
so, and then he kept the best for himself.
Yeah. And I wonder if the Bulls themselves would display it and show guests, and and you guys are continuing that. They would, they wanted to show people, I'm sure. And they collected it as well.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Bob, why is it so important for us to preserve local history just like the Boal Mansion?
Well, that's a great question, and many people ask about that. Why not just turn it over to the Smithsonian? Well, several reasons. First, the good news here is that we have hundreds of thousands of original artifacts from the 8 generations of Boals that lived here. The bad news is we have hundreds of thousands of original artifacts because they all do require special curation, which we receive no local, state, or federal funding. So the tour dollars and things, we stretch those dollars to do it. But why is it important to keep it here? It tells a story. And the story here is such an exciting one. It's not only about the 8 generations who were prominent on the local, state, and federal stages and international stages, but also it shows America's place in the world as it's growing. And so our history here ties in with things from every continent on Earth. I mean, that's an incredible story for a local museum. And then to have the artifacts and the provenance, the stories that go with each of those artifacts, it really makes it an exciting story. And so by learning from those, it's often said, we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past if we don't learn from our history. And I think that's never more important than our current events.
Hidden Happy Valley is a series highlighting lesser known places and interesting spots in Center County. It is brought to you by